actually having my dad pave the way was very helpful. So I'll admit that.
Right.
But once you get your foot in the door, you have to still prove that you know what you're doing.
Right.
Getting a foot in the door is one thing, but you have to sort of bring the skills and the ability. So, over the years, it really just takes dedication and hard work and knowing that, okay, this is not a job that has banker's hours. I work weekends.
Right.
I work holidays.
Yeah.
So that's just...
It's always on the move. Right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Hi, welcome to the Intense Show. I'm Aamna from Intense Oud, and today we have a very special guest with us. We have Karen Jordan from ABC 7 Chicago. Karen is a broadcast journalist and a perfume lover. So, Karen, by the way, I was always curious about this too. I know you from almost a year ago or 2 years ago now.
I believe it was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's gone by so fast.
I know, right? But I've always been curious, I know you as Karen Jordan from ABC 7 and you're a journalist, but I kind of wanted to ask you, where exactly are you from? Where did you grow up? And, how did you end up in journalism?
That's a great question. So I am from Evanston. I'm from the north suburbs. Grew up there, and I got into the business because of my dad. My father was an anchor and reporter at WGN.
Oh, okay.
For many years. And when I was a little kid, long before Take Your Daughter to Work Day, I went with him sometimes so I could sort of see the behind the scenes of the business.
Oh, wow.
And that's how I really just was interested in it. And like I said, my parents lived in Evanston, and so I grew up there. They're not there right now. They moved to a different suburb, but they're still close by. And my dad retired about 8 years ago, and he's keeping himself busy, as both my parents are, helping me out with our kids. My husband and I have 2 kids.
Right.
So, but I got to see kind of what was interesting about journalism and how you have to meet people and try to bond with them and make them feel comfortable with you. And it really takes a lot of curiosity to try to ask questions. And so I went, after graduating high school in Evanston, I went to Spelman College in Atlanta. I was an English major there.
Oh, wow.
And then came back to Northwestern University, where I was in school, Medill School of Journalism, got my master's in broadcast journalism.
Oh, wow.
And then from there, went to a few different cities, kind of started small. You got to pay your dues. I started in Rockford, Illinois. Then I went to Dayton, Ohio.
Ohio.
Ohio, wow. Of all places. I
know. Of all the places.
I've never set foot in Ohio until I got my job there.
Right.
And that's where I met my husband. He was also at a different TV station in Dayton, Ohio. Then from Ohio to Philadelphia. And then Philadelphia, I was able to come back here in 2003. So
oh, wow.
That's been 21 years.
21 years. Wow.
Yes.
I'm also kind of curious, because I grew up in Pakistan, and in Pakistan, pretty much every field is where women have to, they have to work hard to, make a name for themselves or, get ahead. And especially when it comes to journalism, women have to really be out there and they have to be very brave, and they have to put in a lot of effort. So I was wondering if that's the same here in US as well. And you're a woman, plus you're a person of color. So did you face any challenges, or how was it like? How was it early on when you were just starting in journalism?
Well, just starting, I was still single, so I could definitely spend long hours on the job, and that was really part of it, because you do have to be tenacious for sure in this
Right.
business. It's very competitive, and compete against men, compete against other women, and certain TV stations only have but so many openings every now and then, and so you really have to work hard to be best of the best. And
Right.
it does take a lot of time, and you may not be able to hang out as much with your friends if you
Right.
want to. And it's still the same even after getting married and having a family. That was a challenge of still wanting to dedicate all your effort into really doing well on the job, but also spending some time with your family.
Exactly, right. Having
So
the right balance, right?
absolutely. Work-life balance, very challenging. And I don't think that there really is any solution for that. I think that's going to constantly be a challenge. It just helps. And if you are so lucky as I am to have a wonderful village to help you out with my
Right.
parents, they're still willing and able to help out and watch the kids, pick up the kids, or help out when need be. But yes, it can be very challenging as a person of color and as a woman to make your mark in this business.
Right.
You know, I've, yeah, actually having my dad pave the way was very helpful. So I'll admit that.
Right.
But once you get your foot in the door, you
Yeah.
have to still prove that you know what you're doing.
Right.
Getting a foot in the door is one thing, but you have to sort of bring the skills and the ability. So, over the years, it really just takes dedication and hard work and
Right.
knowing that, okay, this is not a job that has banker's hours. I work weekends.
Right.
I work holidays.
Yeah.
So that's just
It's
kind
always
of-
on the move, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and I like you just mentioned about your dad, like he paved the way for you. But when you have a parent or like a sibling or anyone who has paved the way for you in a field, did you ever feel like it also kind of contributed to the challenges? Like did you ever feel like you have a legacy to carry on, or you have to fill in your father's shoes? Because
Absolutely.
there was, yeah.
Absolutely. You definitely, when people find out, oh, you're Robert Jordan's daughter, and that definitely puts more of a spotlight on you.
Right.
Because yeah, it's a double. It's
a double-edged sword, right?
Double-edged sword. It's some people may be excited to meet you, but then at the same time they may scrutinize you even more to see, oh, well, does she have the chops to really do the job? And that was okay. That didn't really bother me so much. I just felt the need that I always wanted to make sure that, yes, I am worthy of being here.
Right.
For sure.
That's so interesting, because I do remember when we posted your perfume reviews on our channels, there were a lot of comments. Oh, I didn't know she's Robert Jordan's daughter. And then there were a lot of posts that appreciated you and your father. And that's how I figured that I Googled you, obviously, I'm going to be honest. And that's when I Googled that your father was also in journalism. So that was very interesting. Speaking about the perfume content, I just recently, I think it was right after we met at Intense Oud, that I saw your Instagram that you also tried to, start your own perfume review, personal blog kind of thing. So how has that journey been so far?
So that has been a fun journey. And speaking of trying to figure out how to dedicate your time to different things, I will say I'm not as consistent with it as I want to be. It's kind of my happy place. And I think it's
Right.
really important to double down on carving out a space that can give you peace of mind, give you some joy, some creative thing that you can do just for yourself. Especially the way things are now, and the more responsibilities I really have leaned into trying to do more with my love of fragrance. just finding the time is
Right.
all is a challenge.
Right.
But it's been fun. I've been just doing a lot of reading and just educating myself
Right.
on fragrances, fragrance notes, just trying to improve even my vocabulary about describing fragrances.
Right. Right.
Some of the other fragrance influencers I watch have such a wonderful knowledge and a vocabulary. And my goal is to maybe take classes, maybe even online classes,
Oh, interesting.
just either with sort of fragrance houses. Every now and then I've noticed fragrance houses offer classes on make your own fragrance, or just, learning, teaching you the basics of perfume
Right.
making. And that I just wanted to do that so I just know what I'm talking about.
Right.
If there's a note, a jasmine note, I kind of know what are the properties of jasmine or what are the properties of heliotrope, just something
Right.
interesting. So I just know really how to describe it. And but it's been fun. I like the fact that it's a challenge, and really just sort of finding my next new favorite fragrance is always
Right.
fun.
And then I think it was the same motivation of like finding your new favorite fragrances that kind of like led you here, and you got introduced to Arabian
Yes.
fragrances, right?
Absolutely. I did not know this world existed, and it has been the best discovery ever. It was during the pandemic
Oh, right.
when I just even discovered that there were people who would go and talk about fragrances and review them. I didn't know people did that. And it ignited my passion for it. Growing up, I would sort of dabble in it, and I would have a perfume every now and then that I would like, but I didn't know that there was something that people would get on there and review the new fragrance. So I would see people do this, especially on TikTok.
Right.
And that just like sparked something.
Yeah.
And I started looking and reading and researching and just sort of and ordering and trying new things and sampling, and went down the rabbit hole and
Right.
discovered that, oh wait, intense oud. I kept hearing the reference to intense oud. You can get this at Intense Oud, and I just Googled, where is this Intense Oud? It's in Chicago. What?
Yeah.
It just was like, this is too good to be true.
Right.
And at that point, yeah, the store had been open, and there was the experience center. I don't know how long the center has been open,
Yeah.
but I just kind of wandered in and saw all the fragrances and just thought, this is amazing.
Right, right. And I think like with the kind of experience that we curate, people find that interesting. But in my experience, and you can like shed some more light on it, like how your first impressions were about the Arabian fragrances, that people find them very unique and very like different from what you find at other stores at like, Macy's or Sephora's and Ulta Beauty. So did you also find something unique or interesting about Arabian fragrances when you came here? Like, how was that experience for you like?
It was amazing. I definitely found that these were so well crafted, interesting fragrances. And that's when I really identified that I love oud as a
Right.
note. And of course, a lot of the fragrances had oud, and the performance was such a great performance. It wouldn't disappear after an hour for a great value. I mean, you don't break the bank paying for an Arabian fragrance like
Right.
you can, a designer fragrance or some other niche fragrances. So I just thought that this was great, and really liked some of the blends and the floral notes. But I just thought if anyone who really likes woody fragrances, this is definitely the best place to be.
Right, right. Awesome. And you mentioned that you found out about oud when you started exploring the Middle Eastern Arabian fragrances. So I wanted to ask, do these perfumes or these fragrances also tell you something about Middle East? Like maybe like did it ever affect your perceptions about Middle Eastern and Arabian countries or that region? Like,
That's a really good question. I think it gave me just a deeper appreciation for the beauty that the fragrances were so beautiful. It just made me imagine that the place where they originate from
right.
is just really beautiful and just appreciates, really well crafted fragrances and it made me even more curious. I would love to travel. I haven't been to the Middle East.
I was going to ask you that if you've ever been to anywhere in Middle East
I
yet.
have not. I have
Right.
not been to the Middle East and would love to travel one day. Yeah,
Right,
for
right.
sure.
Yeah, amazing. I also kind of wanted to ask you because you mentioned beauty, like fragrances have like a lot to do with, you know, it's not just that maybe you start off with fragrances to smell nicer for other people at first, but then after a while it kind of becomes your own comfort zone and like you want to smell nice for yourself and the way you present yourself, and it kind of like becomes a part of your personality or beauty and concepts like that. So I kind of wanted to ask you as well, and this is a question I've been asking other people as well, and I've been introspecting on this a lot too. Like, what does beauty mean to you? Like, how would you define beauty?
Oh, wow. Well, it's interesting you say that about the way in which you apply a fragrance. I have always wanted to do it just for myself. And I think part of it is I just like to have the scent cloud. And maybe I'm paranoid because of the job I'm in. Sometimes I'm in a car with a photographer, I'm
Right.
in close spaces. I don't want to feel like I'm choking someone out
Right,
with my
right.
fragrance. So, not that I'm timid in how I apply it, but I definitely just do it for myself. I
Right.
mean, the bonus is if somebody's close enough and they get a whiff and they really like it, then that's great. And I feel like that's kind of what beauty is, just doing things that make for yourself, that
Right.
no matter what, it makes you feel good, and it's kind of like self-care. It kind of goes into self-care, just the applying of a fragrance, or at the end of the day taking a little extra time. If you're washing your face, you kind of give yourself a little extra skincare, a little facial. And I think that's more beauty as opposed to simply the superficial, how do I look? How do I dress? That's kind of the cherry on the top of it.
Yeah.
I think beauty starts with appreciating and just spending some extra time on yourself when you can. Because sometimes the busier you get, all you have is that one time a day to just spritz on some perfume, and like that's your self-care for the day.
Right, right.
So just kind of staying in touch with the thing that gives you a little bit of joy is, it could be lipstick. It could just be, I want to wear my favorite blouse. I think that's what beauty is. That keeps you connected to what feels good.
Right. That's such an interesting perspective because whenever we're talking about beauty, we're thinking of the outside. We're not really thinking about the inside, right?
Right, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very interesting. And I have been like, thinking about these things lately because we were supposed to like, um, have conversations like these, and then beauty, lifestyle, self care, all of these things come under the same umbrella.
Yeah.
And it's just so refreshing to like hear everyone's perspectives about beauty and taking care of yourself, and as you mentioned, appreciation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I think of my grandmother. I mean, she always would leave the house. This was a different time period too for her, but I mean, always she would make sure that she would have lipstick and
Oh,
blush, and
right.
and she could have it down in 5 minutes. She would, whatever lipstick she had, she'd dot it on her cheeks and smush, smush, and she would look
Right.
so glamorous. I don't
Yeah,
know
of
how she did
course.
it, but that was just, I think, her way of making sure she was pulled together. And I think that was her self-care and her her beauty, her concept of beauty.
And the fact that you remember it, that means like that kind of in some way influenced you, right?
Yes, for sure. For sure. And in fact, I can picture her vanity tray with some perfumes, and she had the classics. She had, I don't know if you know Youth Dew by Elizabeth
Okay.
Arden.
Okay.
That is like old school,
Okay.
but I mean, it was definitely a staple for her. And at that, in her time period, it was really glamorous. It was like a heavier fragrance. It's definitely for the winter time, but it's like she would wear it and go to church or out to dinner, and it's just was a statement perfume. And that was kind of also her way of how she presented herself.
Wow. Like, is that perfume still there or is it like discontinued or something?
No, it's still around. It is
Okay.
still around. You can, but I mean, I'm not even sure how much it goes for, but you can find Youth Dew. It's a staple for sure.
Right.
I don't know if younger generations are wearing it, but it's still around.
That's so interesting. And speaking of like generations, like, do you feel like some fragrances are like evergreen or like some fragrances are more, do you believe in the concept of wearing certain makeup looks or certain fragrances according to your age group or something? Do you believe in that?
Um, I'm not sure. I don't think so. I think it really just boils down to what you like, because so many times I've noticed kind of what's old is new again. You might get a younger person who thinks, "Oh, I'm going to try Youth Dew," and it like all of a sudden Youth Dew is the hot thing to have among Gen Z or Gen Alpha
Right.
or something. But I mean, I think there are trends for sure in makeup, but I think it all just sort of can. It just depends on how you apply it, and I don't think everything has to be that dated. I think there can be things can still be timeless. Like their cherry is a big thing right now in perfumes, and in 10 years from now, I don't think necessarily wearing a cherry scented perfume
Yeah.
is going to be outdated. It's just whatever you want to do.
Yeah, it's more personal preferences and what you like and you want to do. And I feel like fragrances tell a lot about someone's personality. Like some people are like just, happy-go-lucky and they're like very chirpy and, and they tend to like lighter and fresher fragrances, whereas some people are like they have like a depth to their personality, and I feel like they like to wear more gourmands and heavier scents.
For sure. Yeah, and that's interesting. And I like to sort of dabble a little bit in all kinds. I try to have a range. For a while, I thought I wasn't going to really like vanilla perfumes, and then it just depends on how vanilla is used.
Right.
Vanilla doesn't have to mean sugar cookie, and some people like that, and they smell wonderful. But yeah, I think people have so many different moods, and sometimes the fragrance is determined by the mood that you're in that day.
Exactly, yeah.
Or sometimes if I feel like I need to get in a headspace, I will be intentional about the fragrance. Like,
Right.
I want to feel more powerful, so I'm going to wear this one today.
Oh.
Or sometimes I'll wake up and I'm like, no, I'm feeling a little whatever. Oh, this will fit the bill. So
Right. So you do pick fragrances based on your mood.
for sure,
Yeah.
yes, yeah,
That's
yeah.
so
Mostly
interesting.
I'll do it according to my mood. Other times I'll choose the fragrance first to say, I want that to influence my mood.
Oh, right. Like doing it the other way around. Like
Right.
you get into a certain headspace with a fragrance. Wow, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
So what fragrance did you pick for today?
Today, it's funny you ask. I'm wearing Satur by Lattafa.
Oh, wow.
I think you showed it to me one time ago when I was here, and I've been wearing it a lot lately because that peachy fragrance is amazing. And now that it's warmer weather,
Right.
and if like my grandmother lived in Georgia, and of course Georgia peaches were everywhere, and this is peach season,
Right.
and I just love it. It's such a wonderful. it's summery, but it's also warm. It's kind of warm
Yeah.
and woody and summery and breezy at the same time.
Yeah, what I loved about that sutur is it is peach, but it's not like that fruity accord peach. There's like something to tone it down, and like maybe a bit of vanilla or like some bitter notes, like bitter almonds or something in there.
Right, right.
So that's so interesting. I'm so glad
Yeah.
you picked a fragrance that you got from Intense. It's only
Yes.
befitting, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I love it. And it's this grit gives such a great scent cloud. I'll move around and I'll sort of smell it for hours. So yeah, it's not too, I guess, beast mode as some,
Yeah.
which is it can be if you spray a lot. I guess
Yeah.
I try not to do more than 3 sprays.
Right.
And I will see some people, some influencers like spray, 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 and that
Yeah.
just makes me nervous. Like, oh my gosh, I can't do that. And
Yeah.
I mean, on them, I'm sure you just stand next to them and they smell amazing. I just haven't gotten to that point yet.
Right, right. But you mentioned you still get compliments like
Oh
when
yeah.
people get a whiff and all. So speaking of compliments, there's a lot of like, especially with the Arabian fragrances and places like Intense Oud, people are always like fighting others in comments. Hey, please gatekeep.
Oh
I have
yeah.
been gatekeeping this for so long, and you're like just outing my secrets. So, have you ever gatekept a scent, or like, do you believe in gatekeeping, or you're more of a like, I want to share this with others?
I've evolved into more of an I want to share. I think once upon a time I thought, oh, a lady never shares her fragrance, and I don't know even know where that concept came from. I guess some people it makes sense,
Right.
if that's something unique about you, but no, I'm more of a share,
Right.
because it may smell differently
Yeah.
on you. And I take that as a compliment if you like how it smells and want to try it out. So, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. And it was lovely to have you on this podcast.
Oh,
And
thank you. It's been
uh,
great being here. This has been such a wonderful, well, I don't want to say discovery because you've been here, but I've just really enjoyed coming to Intense Oud, and as I've grown more in my knowledge and appreciation for fragrances, and especially the Arabian fragrances, that's a wonderful world to kind of get familiar in. So thank you for always being so supportive.
yeah, and thank you for your support for businesses like ours as well, because I feel like since the pandemic, the online business was doing great for Intensuit, but the Experience Center had been in place for like 5 or more years, but it was only after like the segment you did last year in May, I still remember. And we have gotten so much footfall since then, and everyone has been telling us that, oh, we saw you on the news.
Oh,
We didn't even
great.
know you existed. We saw you on the news. So
Oh,
thank you
good.
for your support as well.
Oh, my pleasure. No, it's been great, and I that's kind of the fun part about the business is being able to highlight what's in the community. And yeah, I think, and there are so many people who may have an interest and don't realize this place is pretty much in my backyard. So
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. All right. I think we're gonna sign off now and we'll head downstairs to check out the fragrances. Now comes the best part, I think.
I cannot wait. I want to see some of the new stuff. Thank you. Thanks, Amna, for having me.
Awesome.